invited to talk about homegrown ICT solutions, particularly in developing countries. As being introduced, myself have been working very much in the University of Dar es Salaam for about 10 years, Open University of Tanzania for about 5 years. So in my talk today, I will browse a little bit through what homegrown solutions are as opposed to those proprietary solutions. And why should we talk about it now? And what is our experience? And share with you a little bit what we have been doing, and probably the areas that we together, the academic community, researchers, and the government, we can do. First, it's very clear that the use of ICT solutions is now almost in all sectors. You name it, in the power, water, telecoms, financial industries, and that's everywhere. And the dependence is such just high. On the right-hand side, I tried to predict a schematic diagram which shows the relationship between the public and the government. My talk is much more, but I will be focusing on the government and the public service delivery, and I will give you the reason why I focus on this. So on one side is government departments, and on the other side is public. And what we're seeing in many literature, when we refer to e-government, it's about different public institutions providing services to the public. It could be business, it could be general public. And in short, we're seeing the business processes that through one, call it maybe a single window or a portal, citizens and public can access the services. The ICT is big, and if you summarize the building blocks of e-government implementation, you can put it in 4 big blocks. One is related to policy, laws, and regulations, and the second one is related to governance. The third one is related to applications, and the fourth is in the infrastructure. When these 4 blocks works very well, then we get the e-services. And that could be agriculture, tourism, whatever. But when things goes well, we have the results in the form of improved public services, improved business environment, improved government operations, optimal resource utilization, but also we see also improved government revenue collections. My focus will be on the information systems, the application side, which gives us the e-services. And the interesting part here is that for those who have gone through a little bit of the literature of our country, we're a country which is divided up of about 31 administrative regions. And we are blessed with so many things. In each of these regions, we have about 4 to 6 districts. Each of them, we have just special economic activities taking place there. You name it, from agriculture, tourism, fishing, and so on, of which you can plug in IT and get quite a lot. You see that the power of ICT solutions, mainly, they can bring a lot of changes. Let me define a little bit on these things. In its broader term, ICT solution is the entire spectrum of software and hardware. However, as I said in the beginning, I will just focus on the one area, that's applications. When we talk about homegrown, those solutions that have taken into consideration the locality where this particular system is being developed, as opposed to just getting a foreign solution and plug into the organization and make it work. But why should we talk about this? In my years of working both in the universities and now about 7 years in the government, I've seen a lot of problems and issues. We have ranges of big IT-related projects which never ends. Every day is a new proposal, a new workshop, visiting from one country to another, and solutions are not coming out on time. And when I look at the problems that exist in the public, in the society, they are not so complex. Because in many cases, we found that very big and very complex IT-related projects. They're trying to address a very simple problem, but which is not addressable for X amount of years, 3, 4, 5 years, and the institution remains with the paint and nothing comes up. But there's a lot of money spent. And what I found out is that in many cases, we actually don't need those complex solutions. We need simple solutions that will grow with that locality requirement. One of the reasons, which is very clear, is that when you look at these big and complex solutions, they were not made with our requirements or locality requirements in mind. They were made with other generic, and so if you want to call it big picture requirements. And therefore, we are forced to spend a lot of resources when we are trying to get this solution working for us. Time, money, human, and sometimes unnecessary, very high capacity infrastructure. I've seen very high, very complex infrastructure trying to handle a simple software or application. And as you know, that the life cycle of IT systems is such. Just recall about the system application development life cycle, which all go the way, but when you arrive at the acquisition, the two acquisition approaches. One is get it off the shelf from the customization you buy it, or you can develop. When you take this route of getting a foreign solution or proprietary park, this is the one that I've been talking about, that throughout my years, this line takes a long time to learn the futures of whatever that product is all about, to customize it, to get to address your problem. It requires regular upgrades. Also, the skill sets around that life cycle is also very complicated as it changes from time to time, and you are forced to do that with the requirement of that particular software. But also very high license costs, but at the end, the total cost of ownership, which lives with that institution all the time. But when you take this other route of coming up with your own homegrown solution, that's the development, you need, of course, prerequisites, a good skill set, but you can scale with your requirements. In most cases, what we have seen around, the pains that exist in many institutions is such basic, and you can grow with that requirement. It's easy to develop using the available open source tools. This is how we talk about it. Of course, you don't need license, and at the end of the day, it's really that the total cost of ownership is as compared to the other one. So what we see in this process is a big painful process where the development, if you put a scale of 1 to 10, always you go to a scale of 6 or 7. At that point, you receive information that the product has moved to another version. All this time, probably years, you have been spending a lot of resources, and you will be required to join another version. So you actually go back and start that journey again. So, and this process, in my experience, it never ends ever. So, unfortunately, it goes like that, and we have to start planning all the time, and we never get out of that cycle. So, end results is a serious problem. There are a lot of delays. There's a revenue loss, big ones. In dictionaries is in billions. I will tell this frank with you. And it could be millions of dollars. Corruption, gets in there. This has a long process because of existing also bureaucrats and influence from vendors and other players along the way. Poor customer satisfactions because they never get what they want. Usually customization will never be concluded. And what I want to say is the proprietary packages, vendor, if we look back, they were also once upon a time a homegrown solution, which then was advanced and given a different version to work out abroad, and it was privatized. But at the end of the day, it's expensive, very expensive. I said you have a very high total cost of ownership. What are the driving factors and what have been our experience? There are a number of factors that have supported the growth of homegrown solutions, and we have to capitalize on them so as to fuel the solutions in the development process. And most notably is the launch of open source initiatives and the open source software movement in 1998. When I graduated in 1996, we started our lab journey, for those who remember the former University Computing Center, University of Dar es Salaam. One of the niche areas was such serious programming and come up with the solutions. And somewhere in 97, 98, we came up with a product called PlanRep. If you get to know, it worked in the Ministry of Finance. And we were moving very well, but it was a bit difficult as compared to the days we have now, where the open source initiatives have grown and they have fueled very much the open source software. We have communities where developers and users meet, create softwares and meet and discuss issues. So you have base where you can build on. This solution also helps to keep our institutions from getting blocked because a particular capacity isn't available from vendor solution. The pains I talked about, these institutions live with these pains because they just forced to go with the limit of this particular package. Leave alone the number of invoices these institutions will receive, even by trying to struggle to get to scale of 7 and 8. So the human resource pool also we're seeing here in the developing countries is growing rapidly and increasingly with confident risk-taking youth. And with this improving access to vocational opportunities and specialized training institutions, it's quite a lot in the time that have arrived that we can have these things done and move that direction. I know it's not that good news, but the world is changing. At this stage we have to change. It changes with business models as well. We've seen in the world, the top tax company does not own a tax. And the biggest hotel does not own a physical hotel. The business models have changed. So the business model has to change in all the aspects and the way we think about many areas. Our experience, we have seen upward solutions, so I'm not talking from reading it. I'm talking from real experience. There's a big differences from the homegrown solutions and those which are not. And I will say that those which are not lasts for the lifetime of the projects, so-called projects. The projects that never end, and sustaining these solutions has been challenges since they don't also address our requirements, as I said before. Our journey to start embracing homegrown solutions for Tanzania public institutions and its impact clearly started from when this institution was set up in 2012. And that has been our focus. It has contributed a lot in our transformation journey as an agents. And this is what I want to share with you today. Almost all the solutions you hear going on now in the country, for the government-based system, the help-based system, country portal, the payment gateway, the enterprise resource management suite, many systems. I just gave a few examples. They are all homegrown solutions. And the experience is extremely brought big difference. And it is possible. What's required is to have relevant skills and be focused on the results. We made this also as one of our duties is to enable that environment as well. So when you visit our website and go to the area called standards and guidelines and standards, we have provided a number of guidelines and standards to enable institutions to go that line. And it is working. Here it's full of so many areas. I mean, it's all spectrum, from the networks, the operating system, the database engines, the applications. It's very resourceful tool. Of course, it's available public, and you can access it anywhere, and I know what they use. The whole idea was, won't tell everybody who is in that ecosystem that this is our direction, these are our guidelines and standards. And we had to move in that direction. I have a question here which I don't have an answer. With all these facts, why are we still doing it in the wrong way? Is it because of factors from inside or outside? Inability to explore and use internal capacities? Lack of inadequate innovation and research initiatives? Where is the problem? When I got a call to this conference, I thought maybe it's one platform where I could plug this and if you guys also put this in your agenda. But also I see, when I was going through the theme of the conference, in the other countries I know it's well structured, but I think we still have issues in most of the developing countries. There is a gap where our researchers and students are working on imaginary projects, which ends up in the university library shelves after the students attend their degrees, all after publishing the papers. And we think that if we build a strong partnership between academic research institutions and the government and the private, by nurturing the talents, the students, the innovators, and the researchers together, we can solve our society problems. So we know the requirements in details. The problems are living with us. So we have a better knowledge than anybody else. And we can handle and address this problem properly. And such cooperation can be extended to southern countries level, because we have common problems. In Tanzania, in understanding the need for innovative homegrown ICT solutions, the e-government agency is in the process of establishing the e-government Research, Innovation and Development Center right in the University of Dodoma, and this center will be operational this month. It will be a hub for innovation, research and development to spearhead the improvement of public service delivery, with the whole spectrum from hardcore end to the soft part. Our intention is, we have the research and academic community on one side. We have the public with the full of problems, and we have one point in common where we can create a platform where these problems are really there, and this academic and research community can find the real problem to work on, the results of which is to solve immediate problem in society. Being it policy, being it a solution, software solution, by hardware or whatever. The aim of the government is to see that these ICT initiatives and other investments in research and innovations are used to their potential, especially in supporting and enhancing the efficiency and effectiveness of the public service delivery mechanisms in all sectors. I thought, in our country we are blessed almost everything you can think of If you have time, we have tarmac road in this country. You take us one drive, don't take a flight. You will see how we are. We have a long coast, we have fishing, we have minerals, we have agriculture, we have, I think, the best real wild animal, not zoos, real wild animals, not zoos. So it's a lot. If you plug in innovations and IT in it, we expect a lot. The excellence of the partnership could also be the driver on strengthening this cooperation. So a well-planned and organized partnership between the universities and the government can bring about these changes in our area. And it is our expectation that through this center, we shall be able to accelerate this innovation and immediately useful researches. And the challenges from public will be collected systematically. As I said, we need to rethink on the way we manage our industrial practical training for students from universities and colleges. The current practice will not give us the most immediate use of the talents in the student school, because there's a little bit of progress on how these things is being taking place. We have very good talents and brains, but we don't harmonize and link properly with the individual institutions or the organizations where we are sending these students. As a result, we don't get the best and the continuation of what has happened from the other practical training sessions. So this will call for a more effective approach that will map the students' areas of competence and the challenges that exist in the industry, including the public institutions. Such approach may require all organizations with a certain level of maturity in their business processes, because IT do not just address every problem. In many cases, we need to re-engineer the business processes before you plug in IT. So it's not a plug and play. And such approach may require that those institutions with a certain size and a certain maturity of the business processes are well also properly be known, and such arrangements are done properly. In conclusion, in southern countries, we have talented youth. I was reading one paper a few months ago that shows that by 2025, the number of graduates in the IT, in the engineering, mathematics, will be around 20 million. It says that about 75% of those graduates will be coming from emerging economies, developing countries, and people sitting here in that particular sector. What does that mean? Does that mean more problems or more good time? If we don't do it well, it may mean more problems. If we plan well, it may mean very good opportunities and do better than how we are. So putting in place proper mechanisms, such as research and innovation centers, can help harness the power of the homegrown IT solutions and overcome the challenges of adopting the following solutions that are not compatible with our socio-economic environment. I thank you for listening.
Government imesimama